Well, hello to the DoubleGDP community. This is Jay, and I'm giving this week's update on customer and market for the evolution of what's been going on for the last sprint. It was a little bit shorter of a sprint this week as we approach the Thanksgiving holidays here in the States. And it's been a really kind of interesting one for us because some portion of our team is just back from deploying software out in Zambia. And so there's a lot of kind of like next steps with that customer that have been that have really been going on for us as we push that thing forward. And to give kind of two updates, we're going to start by talking a little bit about customer, and then we're going to move a little bit to about market. So on the customer side, wanted to quickly walk us, our team here, through what we have been synthesizing of learnings from the ethnographic research study that we did alongside deploying the software while we were in Zambia. So we conducted a series of in-home interviews with the pioneering residents of our first customer, and me and our design researcher, we've been beginning to synthesize like key insights that might be really useful as we think about the strategy of developing our software. If we are to know more deeply, who are these pioneering residents and what are they really kind of like looking for in the new town that they're going to move to? And so just kind of like walking us through a couple of the starter observations of that. The most important takeaway is that the folks who are looking at moving to a new town like in Kwashi, they are really investing in vision, right? And they are picturing a vision for the future of their country, not just a vision for the future of their lives. So, and certainly not just a plan for what life might look like when they live in that new town. And that looks everything like thinking about what life might be like in their country as a lot of the surrounding infrastructure of life becomes more developed, right? And so it is a lot of the simple stuff of everyday life, cooking and cleaning and relaxing and learning and raising their family to kind of like meet their family's goals. And we couldn't come back from spending time with these folks in Lusaka without realizing what an extraordinary amount of work and effort they put into their lives right now, such that they can actually just like have that do the everyday things of life that they're kind of seeking to do, right? Like they need consistent electric power in order to have their kids kind of like doing piano lessons at night, right? And like just kind of like sitting around the television and watching TV and relaxing, right? They're looking for consistency in terms of a lot of utilities like garbage and water. Why? Right? So that like it is actually kind of like a little bit more of an expected set of things that you might encounter while you're driving to work or while you're kind of like going about your everyday life. And so I think I couldn't come away from this time in Lusaka without realizing, number one, the type of experience folks are looking for in their kind of like everyday life in this new town. It is like it feels very kind of consistent with many of the experiences of everyday life that I might encounter in a number of different countries that I've traveled to, or in the one that I live in right now. And yet it is the developing infrastructure around that life that folks are really seeking this new town to deliver, so that they can actually just live the lifestyles that they have a picture of in their head for what the future might be. So a couple key kind of like parts of that vision. Number one, you learn that people are kind of like taking steps towards their future life, kind of like one block at a time. To give you a concrete example on that, right? Like there's a woman who is going to be moving into a home in this new town. And she'll move in and the home will be like basically 90% done. But the kitchen won't quite be done yet, right? And she'll move in and take that first step to moving into the new home while continuing to basically finish the kitchen and raise the money in order to do that. You hear this time and time again. How do we know we're going to be able to kind of like afford this new home in this new town? Well, we afforded our home in our current. We found a way to buy our current home and build this one, and we had much less resources then when we bought this home than we do now as we're kind of like thinking about our new homes. And we fully expect that we'll do it the exact same way that we did this last one. We're going to do it step by step. And I think that really matches up well with a vision for how a new town is going to be created too, right? A new town is not created all at once. It is created one block, one street, one home at a time. What's kind of fortunate is that the residents of these new towns have the same kind of approach to developing their lives and their homes as do the property developers of a new town. And I think kind of like celebrating that and designing some of our software solutions to like match up with that mentality and tell the story of progress that we're making on our town, such at the same time as celebrating the progress that they're making on investing in their plots and developing their homes. I think that'll really be simpatico. The second thing is that that you can't help but learn is that it's not just a home, right? Like supporting the new town for a lot of these residents is actually them thinking about an investment asset. Of these pioneering residents that we talked with, some large portion of them may not ever actually kind of move into a home in this town, but many of them instead are looking at these plots that they're investing in as an opportunity, like as I said, to create a new kind of future for themselves and their family, and they see these as just fantastic investment opportunities for their future, right? And the reality is that in Zambia, and as is in much of the rest of Africa, real estate and building homes is one of the most accessible forms of investment. There's not really the same access to things like investing in a steady mutual fund or something like that, where one can kind of like use that alternative investment asset as a way to grow wealth. And so folks are really looking at new towns and the opportunity for them to purchase plots in these new towns as investment assets. And so as they are, as they're working with a property manager, they're really kind of seeing that property manager as someone who's helping to steward their investment forward and make sure that like the fruits of their investments are some return that their children can get as generations go by. And I think as we think about the ways that we help use our software services to kind of like highlight the progress that's being made on payment plans, the progress that's being made on the development of the town, and maybe even a lot of the types of communication tools that we use. I think it's really kind of on us to think about some of the metaphors of investment management, not just community, not just community management, in order to really tap into that orientation. Because these are new towns, and these are not just homes; they're investment assets. Next, you can't talk with these pioneering residents of the new town of Nkwashi without beginning to respect their appreciation for this idea of order. And I think what we learned was that order means feeling peace of mind. And when things are kind of like operating according to plan, and a city is laid out on a common and sensible structure where like, the roads are named and they're like the lines are clean and everybody's kind of like building their homes with common design principles and similar looking faces. What that gives to these pioneering residents is a sense of a feeling of peace of mind. They trust that everything is going to be taken care of, right? There's an increased feeling that everything is going to according to plan, and they can kind of like go on and lead their lives. Like they can go to sleep at night, for instance, right? Or let their leave a child at home while they are off at work, and it is this commitment to order that is actually something that is very, very important to these first residents of a new town. And I think that is a really nice match to the thing that they are purchasing into, right? What is it? It's a planned community on a master plan with clean grids about how the how the roads should work and the utilities should run, et cetera. And so I think there's a lot of implications for us as we think about both communications and some of the digital solutions that support this new town in terms of how we help them, A, maintain order, and B, communicate a lot of the rules of home ownership in this community, a lot of the home owners agreements and all of that kind of stuff. Just really, really critical to success here. And then finally, what is peace of mind? Like, how do you actually create it in a town like this? And what you learn is that these pioneering residents, what they believe, right, at their core, is that peace of mind comes from everyone playing their small part, and that actually, like, a lot of safety and security is created not by the not just by the surrounding systems of a well-running police or security force, but also by each individual member of the community, each neighbor kind of playing their role, communicating when things are wrong, and when they see things amiss, and kind of everyone playing a part in that. And again, I think there are really kind of clear design principles for a kind of like community-driven security approach as we build out some of the software solutions for all of this. So there are a couple implications that come from these four major insights that we're beginning to kind of like coalesce into from this research. One has to do with the way that we really grow an investor base with our property development customers, and we have a role to basically help them partner with the residents in order to build a place that's worth investing in. The second one is, how do we help them accelerate moving into the community? And I think we have a really important role to help that property developer provide proactive, small, and regular demonstrations of progress, both in terms of the way that individuals are progressing through their payment and build-out plans, but also in terms of how the community is beginning to come alive. Third, I think we have a really important role to play in terms of maintaining order in the community, right? And a big part really in that is the way that the property developer builds and administers plans, right? It's all about planned communities. So this is building and administering plans so that people can actually focus on living out their dreams of what life looks like in the community. And then finally, I think there's a really important approach to increasing security that we strategically need to have our minds on. And so that's our role that we support in terms of creating safety, connecting and engaging people with each other through that. And through that mechanism, there's a lot of safety that actually like becomes enhanced. So that's a lot of the stuff that kind of is beginning to come out of the research study that we did with the pioneering residents of this new town. And we're going to continue to work with the team here at DoubleGDP and our design research partners to really pull out some of the top stories from that that can help, especially as we bring new people onto our team. The next sets of our designers and engineers and whatnot, help to share some of the videos and photos and stories that come from this research that we did, so that they know who they're designing for, right? Because it's a really special kind of person who chooses to live in this town. And we want to celebrate that. So that's a little bit of the findings that have come out of this research. Talk a little bit about the market side. So if that was about customer, let's just talk quickly about market. We had a really great meeting this week in DC with the Charter Cities Institute, who is a close partner of ours here at DoubleGDP. They had, I think the most interesting thing that came out of that is that they have recently announced the winner of their first Charter Cities business plan, and it's a city called it's a economic city in Nigeria called Enyimba, and so that was really exciting that they had chosen the winner of that plan. And a corollary to that is that Enyimba last week at a really major African investment conference presented and announced that it had raised over 400 million in development for the 400 million in funding for the development of their new town. So just like two really interesting activities at the same time around the development of new cities in Africa continues to leave us just really excited where the broader market's going to go and what our role might be to play in that. So that's it for this week's update on the on customer and market. Fantastic sprint, despite the fact that it was a little bit shorter due to the holidays here in the States. Until next time.